Welcome back to another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle King. We're here again with my man, Dan. But look, today we are really excited because we have somebody on here that is doing just absolutely exceptional work. When you think about the definition of change agent, when you think about somebody that is truly transforming how businesses not only operate, but how they're leveraging their ability to optimize their systems, their processes, and their personnel to being able to accelerate their businesses to help other people. Then the woman that we're going to be talking to today is going to be talking about all of these great things that she is doing. Our guest today is Catalina Parker, co-founder and CEO of Relatable Nonprofit, where she helps former nonprofit professionals build consulting businesses with clear positioning, practical pitching, predictable income, and boundaries, that big B word, that protect their life. Catalina's story is truly powerful, not just because of the emotion behind it, but because it's real. She transitioned out of senior nonprofit leadership, stepped into consulting, and quickly discovered what so many people learn the hard way. That nonprofit experience teaches you how to lead programs and how to create impact. But it usually, like we see all the time and like we talk about here on the Contagious Culture Podcast, it usually doesn't teach you sales. It doesn't teach you pricing. It doesn't teach you marketing or how to really build a business foundation. So we're super excited for another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast, where we help you create ecosystems where your employees and teams thrive. Catalina, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. That was a beautiful intro. Thank you, Kyle. Maybe one of the best ones I've ever had. Thank you. I'm like, whoa, who is that person?
It is well deserved. It is well deserved. And, Dan and I, we've been literally stalking you online for a little while. We're kind of fanboying, I guess, because the work that you're doing is truly exceptional. You bring thoughtful voice around something we both deeply care about. And you're building success in a way that I think that a lot of us don't understand, that it's building success in a way that doesn't cost you your peace. It doesn't cost you your family. It doesn't cost you your health. But for people meeting you the first time, who are you and what is Relatable Nonprofit?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question, right? I think you summarized it beautifully. It was about 5 years ago that I realized everything I had worked my whole life for really was not the version of success that I truly wanted. So, I had my dream career. I was working in a $500 million private grant making foundation, going to ribbon cuttings and literally handing out checks, millions of dollars to all these incredible nonprofits. It was like my dream job, right? After working inside nonprofits forever, to be able to give away money on the other side was just like, wow. And I worked really hard to get there, but I realized that once you get to the top, it's like, okay, where do I go from here? I could make another lateral move to another foundation. I could go back and work inside nonprofits. I could but you're really limited. And for me, I felt kind of like my career has not ended, but definitely plateaued. And I'm always thinking about what's the next, what do I want to do next? How can I be better? So that part was really it just defeated me. I was so depressed and I was like, I can't stand this job. And it was a very comfortable situation, the kind of situation where you're making tons of money, incredible benefits. I could have stayed there and retired at 45 if I wanted to.
Wow.
So everybody around me was like, why are you unhappy? You should feel lucky and grateful that you have this situation. Why are you basically being a baby in the corner, pouting over here, complaining? And I was like, this just isn't the life I want anymore. I had recently become a mom and I felt like just my priorities shifted. Yes, I love my career, but I also love my family. And this is the kind of situation where me being gone all day, I remember leaving my daughter with our nanny before the sun would come up and then coming home when the sun was down, dark. And I'd spend an hour with her at night. And I'm basically missed the whole first year of her life. Somebody else was raising her. So that just wasn't working for me anymore. but I started having all these health issues. That was really kind of the wake up call for me. It was like, okay, yeah, if something feels wrong here, but I didn't really know something was wrong until my body started telling me. I was having panic attacks. I had to have this major surgery. All these different things kind of came, and just really this kind of dissatisfaction with my life, that I wasn't living in alignment with what I really like valued, really is what it came down to. So that was 5 years ago. I can't believe it. And now I pinch myself every day. It sounds hokey, but I'm like living by the beach. I get to be with my kids whenever I want. Like, we help incredible people, these consultants just like me. And it feels like such a gift to be able to literally go back and help like a former version of myself. It's such a gift, and I can't believe this is my life.
I love that introduction, because it's not just thoughtful in your response, it's authentic, it's vulnerable. And that is one thing that I appreciate about your brand as well, is that you're really telling the story, one, like it is, but then you're really being thoughtful in your approach on how you're helping other organizations as well. Let's walk back to that moment that you started this new work.
Mm-hmm.
What were all of the thoughts? What were the fears? And what was the initial plan that you had in place? And how have you really evolved it to what you're currently doing?
Yeah. So for me, I was the primary breadwinner at the time. So it was a practical thing for me. Like, I had a family. I couldn't just like quit my job. Right. So I ended up taking a job with somebody I knew, a former coworker. They were a grantee of mine, actually. And it was, below my pay grade. It was a step down for sure. But in my mind, I said to myself, this is the stability. This is my little safety net where I can pay the bills, but also have the capacity, like, to be able to work on the business nights and weekends, because I knew I was going to have to be working crazy to be able to pull both of these things off.
Yeah.
So that's what I told myself. And, my husband and I, we agreed, like, you're going to do this 1 year. And if it fails, like, great, you just stay in this job, or you go get another job in an org. But, something has to give here. So that's what I told myself. 1 year, try to make it work. And I ended up doing it with a co-founder. So I have a business partner, Julia Devine.
Yep.
We've known each other for, over 10 years at this point. She was a former intern of mine at a nonprofit in DC. And right before I made the transition, I gave notice to my old job, took this new job. And, I'd already made the decision I was going to start the business, but I was like, it'd be nice to not do it alone. And I really enjoyed working with her. So I just texted her like, hey, I have some clients that want to work with us. Would you want to do this with me? I don't know what you got. I had heard through the grapevine that she was in a master's program and she was taking care of her grandparents. And like, maybe she wanted something fun to do with me. And she said yes. And really, the rest is history. She's been such a great partner to build this thing with, that I definitely could not do it without her. So she's been a whole, another piece of the success story. But I guess to go back to your question, it was practically, how do I make this shift financially in a way that's not going to leave me on the streets? But also knowing that this is a long game to play. Like, this is not going to be an overnight success. It's going to take a lot of work, hard work. And I want to do it with somebody that is going to be along for the ride with me. So those are the top 3 things, I think, during that decision period.
No, I appreciate you sharing that as well, and taking us through the thought process and the emotions that went into it. When you think about this evolution, and for somebody that is listening in right now, what do you do now? Like, how are you actually helping organizations, and what is the frameworks or way in which you help these organizations accelerate?
Yep. So when we started consulting almost 5 years ago now, we were doing everything for organizations, because we had learned so many different things. Like, my experience was in digital marketing. Julia's experience is in fundraising. So we kind of blended those things, but everybody knows working in a nonprofit, you kind of get involved in everything.
Literally everything.
So we thought like, oh, let's just offer everything we know how to do. And it worked, right? I mean, it got us to six figures relatively quickly. But we also started realizing, we don't really enjoy doing SEO work, or, I don't really want to do like email marketing for these, or I don't want to do, prospect research. So it was this learning process of figuring out and accepting, like, just because we can do a lot of things doesn't mean we should do a lot of things, and really getting clear on what do we enjoy doing, and also, what are we good at doing? What are our natural talents? So we eventually ended up niching down to doing CRM database support. So doing migrations for orgs, training teams on how to use these systems because there's a lot of turnover, cleanup, all of these kinds of things database related. And we had partnerships with some of the big CRM companies, and we'd work with them to help retain clients for them. So it was like this win-win partnership for both. And that's what we did in the early years. And we started our consultant mentorship program 2 years ago now, alongside the consulting business, because we had people asking us, how did you make the transition? We had a really hard time finding a roadmap. Like you go on there and you try to find everything you can about business building, right? But we hired a business coach that knew nothing about nonprofits. We joined communities that were like great, made us feel good. You met other consultants, but it was like, there was no roadmap. There was no structure. Yeah. We joined the free Facebook groups, the LinkedIn, networking calls with we tried everything. And we were just like, there's no easy way to do this thing. So it's like, could we help other people do this? And that's really, these two things started coming together, people asking us how we did it, and then us realizing, wow, there's a real need here. And really, what if we could help even more nonprofits in the long term by training these consultants to serve those orgs? Because our impact would be much greater. Working with a consultant on average has, anywhere from 3 to 8 clients.
Exactly.
So the impact could be even bigger. So we just we came up with this product idea for our mentorship program, which is a coaching community for consultants. And we went all in on this second business, if you want to call it that, or second product last year. So now this is all we do. We've winded down the consulting business just to focus on the mentorship program.
Let me ask you this, Catalina, because you said something earlier, and people get me with this question all the time, because I think with high achievers and people that have achieved a lot and we're driven, we're focused, we step over those big milestones that you just mentioned earlier. You were like, earlier in your career, when you were connecting with your partner, you grew to 6 figures quickly, and then you kind of just one thing led to another. But let's back up. For someone listening right now, how did you grow to 6 figures quickly? Because a lot of these consultants, and me and Dan talked to them as well, it's like 6 figures is the first milestone, and then everybody thinks that it's just, you just go from 6 to 7. Like there's a lot of steps to be able to get there. It's not as easy as Instagram and TikTok make it seem. But what were your foundational steps, or what were you doing to be able to at least get to that first 6 before you really started to refine what you were doing?
Yeah, great question. So for us, it was reaching out to our network. That was where most of our first clients came from. I mean, I had a pretty large network, Julia did, and we just literally, I went through my LinkedIn profile and was like, who can I reach out to? And I sent a little opener. Hey, so-and-so, I know we haven't talked in a couple years, but I'm up to this. I'd love to hear what you're doing. You want to get on a call? And, nonprofit work is all relationship based. So they would be happy to get on. And, sometimes they'd be like, oh yeah, my org needs help. Other times it would be like, no, we don't, but so-and-so I know does. So I would get the second degree connection. Other times it would be like, nice to catch up. Thanks for the book Rex or whatever. It would go nowhere. But that was really, it was probably a list of maybe 200 people in a little Google Doc that I would just go through and follow up. And those were our first clients. So aside from engaging the network, the second part of it was building offers that were priced well and structured clearly. So it's relatively easy to offer things like, well, I won't say it's relatively easy, but it's like somebody comes to you with a need. We had no idea what to price. Like, we didn't know the average hourly rate for a consultant. We had no idea how to scope projects. We made so many mistakes, like over delivering on, like, I remember one CRM project we quoted like $3,500, and I didn't know, but they actually had like 4 other Excel spreadsheets over on this side that nobody ever told me about. And I had, because we made the promise and the initial proposal and the scope that, yes, I'm going to migrate everything for you, but it actually ended up being like 20 hours of extra work for me, which I was unpaid for. So things like that, just learning how to scope properly, price properly, the packaging piece. That's really, once we had those 2 things in place, the 6 figures was easy, because it's really just a matter of, well, finding people that can afford your rates. I mean, 90% of nonprofits have budgets of less than 50K in revenue. So, knowing to pre-qualify people before you even talk to them is a big one we learned. But once you get orgs that can afford your services, and we were doing CRM stuff, which, typically we did work with some small orgs getting their first database, but towards the end of that business, we started working with large national orgs based in DC who had large teams and needed training. Like, these are people with the resources to pay for builds that we wanted to do and training. So we were able to offer things like, what did we do? It was like 10 hours of training support for your team. Anybody can book time with us. It's a retainer, use it or lose it. And it was like $5,000. And sometimes they would use it, sometimes they wouldn't. So it was just a matter of finding the right people, offering them a service that was valuable and priced well, not just for them, but for us. We got to eat, right? And then just delivering the good work. I mean, we had a lot of clients that would just renew us year after year. Once they like you doing one thing, they want you to do something else for them. And it really just went from there. And we got to about 300K between the 2 of us. And we were looking at hiring a team and building an agency. So yeah, that's the how we got there part.
So Catalina, let's dig into kind of the mentorship piece of it that you were talking about, the shift that you've made specifically to focus on that now, away from the individual consulting. You had mentioned working with consultants to talk about what you could do versus what you should do. I'd love to know, how you approach that conversation, because what you could do is a lot of stuff, right? Yeah. What you should do not only helps your directive, but it really helps your business, right? Could you kind of share how you approach that conversation?
Yeah. So we work with 2 different types of people. People come to us with, not even starting a business. So they're starting from square one, trying to figure out like, what are the initial services I should offer based on my skill sets. But we also work with people that have been in business for several years, and they've kind of been doing everything under the sun. And they're like, what do I do? Like, how do I come back from that? So they're 2 different starting points, but it's really the same issue. Like, with people that are just starting, we really do a deep dive on, take inventory of all your skill sets. Okay. And then sit down and think about, okay, what were moments in my career that I really enjoyed, or I really felt like, a supervisor or a boss commended me, or a team member said, oh, you're really great at this. Like, just really getting clear on, what are you actually like good at too? Not just because people tell you, but also like, what makes you feel good inside is a big piece of it as well. Like, if you are, like, I remember we had this one client where they would call us at like every hour of the day. And it was like, I was doing work that I didn't really enjoy. And it was just like, why am I doing this? Like, yes, it was a nice paycheck, but it was also like, what are we doing here? Like, if I'm just miserable, and I started feeling like an employee again, and it's like, we left this to consult so we wouldn't be employees, we could control our schedules. And it's like, you find yourself back in these situations sometimes with the lack of boundaries. So it's also getting clear on that and pushing people, like, again, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, or, how are you just step back, and how are you feeling when you're actually doing this work? Like, do you feel like you're in a flow state when you're putting together, the research packet, or, does it feel like this is really hard, a heavy lift, and like it shouldn't feel hard? Like that's how you know like it's not working, is when it feels really heavy. And there's a difference between like learning, the ropes and it feeling hard, because anything new just feels hard because it's different. But a certain point, you're just like, what? Like, let's stop doing this and reassess, right? So yeah, it's just pushing people to really be present and reflect on, what do you want to do? Because the goal here is to build a career that lasts you forever, not like a short-term thing where we see a lot of consultants, they go into consult and then they realize, oh, I'm going to go back into a job. Then they might go back to consult and try it again. It's like, we want this to be a forever career for people, because it can be really great. So we definitely don't want, and a lot of people fail, which is the worst part of it, and they have to go back into a 9-to-5 just to make money. So it's really about that, is just pushing people to value themselves more and just ask the hard questions, really, I guess.
You mentioned something about boundaries, and I'll get to that part later. But I really enjoyed, or not really enjoyed, but I noted something you talked about. There's a lot of people that fail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. And there are people that also are highly successful, right?
Mm-hmm.
In consulting. And I think to myself, if anyone looks on their LinkedIn in the nonprofit field, everyone's consulting. It feels like everyone's doing something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And some are niche, some are really faith-based, right? Some are
Mm-hmm.
content heavy, but you're like, well, what are you actually consulting? Can you kind of talk, what are you seeing? Do you feel like the waters are muddy and everyone's trying to do it? Do you feel like, there's opportunity for everyone, but they should be more niche? Like, what's your institutional insight to this?
Yeah, it's a great question. And we actually just completed this survey. We had almost 400 consultants complete it last year, and we released the findings in January, mid-January, I guess. And found that really it's not so much about, and you're right, it's like you go on LinkedIn and if your feed is full of other consultants that you're friends with, like obviously it feels like the market is saturated. But in the survey results, we actually found that was not the case. And I'm going to get the percentage wrong. It was like 84% of people said that they believe that consulting work is going to increase and continue to be around. They don't feel a sense of competition. They don't feel a sense, because I believe, there's like, 1.9 million nonprofits in the US. Like, there's more than enough work to go around. Like, and each consultants are typically solo shops, or we find that. Obviously there are people that grow agencies and teams or whatever, but the people we work with are mostly solo shops, and you only need, again, 3 to 8 clients really to sustain a workload that's reasonable and make the kind of money you want to be making. So it's like, do the math, 1.9 divided by, 3, call it 5 clients. How many, like, there's more than enough work to go around, I believe. And in my experience, consultants are just so generous with their time. I mean, people in our community are always sharing work with each other, because it's like, if you're niche down to certain field, like you want to be known and you want to be an expert in one thing, ideally, right? You want people to know who you are, what you do for referrals, and obviously other marketing. But if you have such a strong reputation, like this is the go-to plan giving person, or this is the go-to, whatever, people will remember that and send you work. And then one day they're going to need to send somebody your way, because maybe they're offering something that's adjacent to you, like fractional CFO services or COO services. Like, I see it happen all the time where there's a lot of referrals going on. With that said, a lot of people just stick to referrals and they don't have other streams of leads coming in, which can really be bad for stability and building your pipeline of work. But yeah, I would say it's a common misconception that people think the market is saturated, and That's what we do encourage people to niche down. So it's like, so-and-so isn't just like the strategy person, like they're the major gift strategy, something like that that's more memorable.
Have you felt like the community that you've created in being kind of consulting guides has created a really strong referral network for all of the people in it?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've had almost 100 people go through our program. I think we have like 65 active members right now. And they're all, they're mid to senior level people. So these are people that have worked anywhere from like local organizations in their communities all the way up to international organizations, all kinds of areas from animal rights to working inside government, sometimes like just runs the gamut really in terms of skill set and experience. And they're just very, giving people. It's a beautiful thing to see, and they recognize like it's okay to say no. Like just because you can do whatever it is doesn't mean you should do it. And maybe it's actually better for somebody who can like go under you as a subcontractor. We see that a lot. So it's almost like white labeling. Like you're not actually like, it looks like you're doing the work, but it's actually somebody else that's doing the work. And that, in the end gives a better result to the client too.
Catalina, I love this conversation for so many ways, and so many reasons. And walk me through, let's say I'm a new consultant. It's day one for me. Mm-hmm. I leave my nonprofit after I've been working there for 10 years. I've never been in consulting. I have nowhere to start. I'm super scared. I have some money saved up for the next 3-4 months, but I really want to make this consulting business work. Where do I begin? What's my first few steps?
Well, I would say doing some research on what do you want out of the experience, just reflecting on what do you want out of the experience. So like, yeah, you want to consult, but like, do you have an idea of what area you want to consult and who are the clients that you want to work with on a day-to-day basis? Like, is it small grassroots organizations? Is it, these larger organizations, international orgs, whoever? Getting clear on, just so you have some sort of idea. It's not like you're coming to the table with this abstract, because I get a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm curious, or like, I've thought about it for years, but I really don't know. Like, we work with people who are just committed. So I guess if the question is like, you've made the decision that you're committed to this as a career, I would say like, get help. Like, not to say that because I sell this program, obviously, but like, I wish we would have, like, we built our program because we wish we had it. It would have saved us so much time. Years of time, and just trial and error that not only time, but it's like expensive too. Because if you screw up this one thing, then you do like that as well. So I think I get a lot of like, oh, I just want to DIY. I want to try it myself for a while and see how it goes. Like, that's fine. But like, time is also money. So like, you might be saving dollars, but you're losing time where you could be making more money.
Exactly.
So
let me ask you this. So
let
me push back. So let's say, and this is completely out of my field. So let's say planned giving, because you mentioned that a little bit earlier as an example. Let's say I want to consult in planned giving. I'm super committed. I'm ready, Catalina. And I have a vast network in that area. Do I go to my network first, or what would be first step for me?
I would outline the services first. So like, before you can even reach out to your network, you have to be able to explain to them, this is what I'm going to be offering. So like, yeah, you can offer planned giving, but it's like, that could be so many different things, right? Like planned giving could be anything from like building a legacy circle society, like a membership circle type thing to cultivate long-term relationships with people. It could be like working in your database to identify potential planned givers based off of, major gifts in the past. Like, it could mean so many different things. And I think it can really help. Like, getting people to say yes is about making it less abstract and more like tangible. Like, this is what you're going to get if you work with me. And it doesn't, have to be complicated. It could be as simple as like, reaching out before you reach out to your network, like just saying like, I'm going to have this package for this smaller organization. Like maybe they've never had a planned giving program before. So it's like outlining the strategy for what a strong program would look like. They can take that strategy and run with it. Versus like working with an org that already might have a strong planned giving program and just needs to optimize or keep it going. Exactly. So that's the first, I would say, like just get clear on what you're going to offer before you talk to your network, because a lot of the time those calls, they won't go anywhere because it's like, okay, I kind of remember what they're doing, but what? And then offering to leave behind either your website or just even a simple one-page PDF with those services as a leave behind with the person after you call them.
What do you find that consultants are getting wrong? We read your report. It was phenomenal.
Okay.
I think our team wrote an article and released it and featuring your report on one of our newsletters. And, I find that it seems, and probably going back to your earlier point, because I'm connected to a lot of consultants, that's all I see on my feed. Mm-hmm. What are consultants getting wrong, and what can we do collectively? And I say we for everyone listening as well, that we can improve upon so that we can be able to continue to scale our organizations sustainably while not risking our family, our health, and these boundaries that you talk about in your work.
Yeah, I would say, because again, like my experience has been, you can get pretty far with just like figuring out your services on your own, figuring out like the referral piece. But where I see a lot of people get tripped up is building the pipeline. So when I say pipeline, it means the sales and the marketing system behind your business. And again, it can be misleading because you see all these talking heads on Instagram or whatever talking about like, click funnels and like launches and all this crap. It's like just a bunch of racket. Like you're just a service provider. You need 3 to 5, 3 to 8 clients, whatever. Like this is not a quantity game. Like this is a quality game for consultants. So I think people just get the wrong advice a lot of the time. Like one of the first coaches we hired, he was pushing selling through DMs, and we tried it. First of all, it's really hard to sell through like nonprofit people, their relationship.
They're different.
Just not good. And we had very, some success, but like also a lot of not great experience. And it would just take so long. And it was like, we just took this advice from this person who knows nothing about our buyer.
That's good.
So I think that like people just get a lot of bad advice. And I hate to say it, like there are a lot of bad coaches out there. I mean, I've had at this point probably hired 10 different coaches and consultants for my business. And they just like, I've had people literally like promise me one thing and then they just like ghost me the next, like just run off with my money, like people that I trusted through my network. Or again, and they're just, I don't want to say bad people out there, but like the coaching industry has really exploded post-COVID. And it's like everybody and their mother can call themselves a coach nowadays is what it seems like. I mean, I see all this stuff out there and I'm like, what makes you even qualified to be a coach? And Julie and we have actually been thinking like, well, should we actually get like a coaching certification from, an accredited school or something to back up? But then I'm like, but we've had like real experience. Like, isn't that more valuable in a way? Like just teaching people from our own lessons and experiences rather than just like studying out of a textbook. So anyway, I'm rambling right now.
Oh, no, you're right there, Catalina. You're definitely speaking what Dan and I talk about all of the time. I think it's a necessary conversation because it's unfortunate that we live in a day and age where it's not about who's best anymore. It's about who's most noticed.
Yes.
And I love what you mentioned earlier in regards to all of this noise about sales funnels and this and that. And it's a quality game, not a quantity game. I love that perspective that you have because there's a lot of noise out there and everyone's a coach and everyone's a consultant and everyone knows everything. But then when you pull back the resume and the results and the relationships and the recommendations, does does it tell the same story?
Exactly.
My question for you, though, is as you think about everything that you've done, and for the nonprofit leader that is in transition, they want to really step into this work, but they're scared. They're a little bit fearful, but they're listening right now. What would you want them to hear?
Do it scared. I mean, maybe that's a little too blunt. I mean, I was terrified. We're all terrified. Like, that's the thing. Like, nobody really knows what they're doing. Even if they think, like, to your point, like, it looks all glamorous or whatever from the outside, like, they have struggles just like everybody's human, right? Like, and I mean, there are things I do all the time still, but I'm like freaked out. Like, is this the wrong thing, the right thing? Like, you truly don't know until you do it. And I would challenge people, like, you're never going to feel ready. Honest, like, there's never a perfect time. There will always be something. And you just kind of have to do it. And, for me, like, I tell myself, well, worst case scenario, like, I do that, you have your little backup plans or whatever. That's fine if that makes you feel better. But it's also like, how much longer can you afford to keep waiting or staying stuck? It's like in a dead end job that sucks the life out of you, like missing moments with your family. Like, how much longer can you afford to do that? Is the bigger question I would want people to reflect on. And it's like, I don't want people to wait to the point where I was at, where it's like you're having health issues left and right. You can barely function without meds. Like, I don't want that for people. And I wish I would have gotten clear about like what I wanted sooner and like taken action. I honestly waited probably 2 years too long before leaving because I was scared and I didn't want people to judge me. And everybody was in my ear again. You're so lucky, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're stupid for even thinking about leave. Like, sometimes you just have to do what you feel is right and not really listen to the other people.
Catalina, something I've been looking into and something I've enjoyed kind of writing about lately was about high character traits and low character traits.
Oh,
And
interesting.
low character traits are what I would call the bad actors, the things that they do, right? And I've worked the majority of my career in higher ed, and there are a lot of consultants at big companies that come in and are like, here's a sheet of donors. And then you look them up and you're like, this is nothing. Or you should do this. And then or they meet with you once when they're,
Yes.
it is, and not to say they're bad actors, but it's low character traits, right? Because even though you're doing the work, you're an individual and you can choose. So I'm curious, when you think about high character traits as a consultant, when you're coaching your consultants and you're talking with them, can you talk about maybe 3 to 5 high character traits that you're either looking for them to have or you're looking for them to absorb and implement in their work?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would say number one is willingness to learn. So people that come into it being okay with being wrong sometimes, or okay with just being presented another way to look at it or another solution, or just being open to listening and just, not shutting out other perspectives and realizing like some people maybe know better than I do. So I'd say the commitment to learning, commitment to just showing up. Consistency is a big thing. We tell people if you have a valuable skill set, you just need to show up and you're going to be successful. Like, show up and do what we teach, you will be successful. We've seen it time and time and again. Where we see people fall off would be when they don't show up, or like they're very active in the beginning of their journey and then they just kind of fall off for whatever reason. Life happens, like, and we get that, but it's like you got to get back on the horse if you want to actually make this thing successful. And then you said one more. I would say courage probably is the last one. Again, like, it's it's scary. Like, and you're dealing with fear, you're dealing with high emotions, you're dealing with guilt, you're dealing with like so many different things. But I always like to tell people, like, that's data, like how you're feeling. It's a data point. And it's also like pushing people to actually look at the numbers within their business too. So like putting aside the emotions for a minute, like, okay, you might feel like stressed out by this client. Why do you think that is exactly? And eventually when you start digging into it, we find a lot of people just have bad scope set up, or, they haven't had a clear onboarding process to make sure the client knows the communication expectations, all of these things. So it's like setting aside your, like, acknowledging your emotions, but setting them aside and really making decisions based on data and not being afraid to push more or less depending on what the data says. I don't know if that makes sense, but I would say that's the last one, reflecting more on data.
I love how you mentioned data. We find that a lot of times we're making emotionally led decisions rather than data driven decisions. Dan gets on me because even as entrepreneurs and big thinkers, big visionaries, when something doesn't go exactly how we plan, we have to sometimes sit in that discomfort and be patient and be strategic rather than pivoting before it gives it time to really be able to marinate. But I want to switch it up really quickly. And I want to do a rapid fire exercise where I'm gonna say a statement and you just say the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay.
Are you ready? So what's one word you want people to feel after working with you?
Confident. Do I elaborate or no? It's just
not yet. All right. What's a nonprofit consulting myth you want to kill forever?
I think what Dan said, like, there's too much competition, not enough work to go around. I think if anything, work is increasing now. I mean, just seeing turnover rates as they are, and people are looking for other ways to stay involved in the sector. It's a great alternative. And I think it's really, this fractional model, if you want to call it that, where senior professionals are partnering with more middle level, lower level staff inside. I think that's what we're going to be seeing more and more, because the sector just can't afford to keep these higher level people. Sorry, that was too long.
No, it's all good. That's all good. I wasn't going to cut you off. You talked about this earlier. What is one boundary every consultant should set immediately?
Oh gosh, learn how to say no.
I do want you to expound on that one.
That was a big one for me. I remember so many situations where I would say yes because you want to be helpful. You never want to feel like you're letting down the organization. And because there are missions involved, I think that a lot of our identity gets tied up in nonprofit work. It did for me. Like, for me, it was like, you need to suck it up, because if you don't, then all the children are going to die because of you. You tell yourself, like, I'm going to let the mission down if I don't do such and such. But it's like you end up sacrificing yourself by doing that and having that kind of mindset where it's like, yes, yes, yes. Obviously, you want to say yes sometimes, but for me, building the no muscle has been really big, and not just with my work, but like my life. When I'm tired and, dealing with my 2 toddlers, I tell my husband, like, nope, I'm not doing dinner tonight. Like, you got to deal with it. Like, I'm going to read whatever. Like, and in the past, I would have just never said anything like that. Yeah. So it's like speaking up for yourself and knowing that no doesn't mean that you are not competent. It doesn't mean that you're not a hard worker. It's just like being clear about what you want and like what you need a lot of the time is really all that it is. And it's a form of self-respect for yourself.
That's good. That's good. And I have 2 more. These are going to be super, super easy. I promise. What is, and you mentioned this earlier, and I love that you even opened it up for me. What are you building towards right now that most excites you?
I'm really excited about our program. We just enrolled 5 people in the last week, which is wild. So, our members are just blowing me away. Like, We just had a call with one of our members. She's hitting almost 20K months. These are people, like we had one member move abroad to Ireland to actually like world school her kids because now she's not tied to this job. People losing 50 pounds because they have time to exercise in their day. Like, yeah, people come to us because they want to learn how to make money, but like what we do is so much more than teaching people business skills. It's really teaching them, again, like, how do you respect yourself? How do you like just build a life that you actually are excited about every day and making a difference in the world? So yeah, I'm really excited about our program. And yeah, it's just, I pinch myself. I can't believe this is real life. So it's just so exciting every time I get on a call with a prospective member and I hear their story and they want to join. I'm like, you want to work with us? Like, you want to, like, me, it feels like play. But yeah, it's just incredible to be able to help these people and just seeing what they're achieving. Cause like, just cause I did it, it's one thing, but like seeing that others can do it, it's a totally, so beautiful, so rewarding.
Catalina, this last question feels the most special to me because this is a question that I wish I was asked years ago. And as thought leaders, as people that are change agents, as people that build something, we're always the people that are supporting, that are giving, that are pouring into other people. But my final question for you, because this has been a literal phenomenal episode, a masterclass in business development, is how can we support you? What type of partners do you need? What gaps do you need filled? And how can we continue to support and shower flowers towards what you're building?
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, if you know anyone who's struggling in their business, really needs help, they're committed to making this work as a career, please send them to us. Like, I don't want them to suffer any longer. And I definitely don't want them having to go back into a 9-to-5 they don't want to do. So please, if you see someone struggling, send them to us. We can help. And we have our Instagram account, which is it's fun memes. So if you want to follow us there, it's where all the jokes are, and we love submissions. So if you want to send us jokes or, stories about what you see in your nonprofit jobs, please do. We love getting those submissions. And it just allows us to just talk more about the work we're doing, because I really believe, people that work in nonprofits, they're so special, the humans. I mean, you guys know, like, to work in a nonprofit, you have so many different career options. Like, it's really takes a special person that wants to commit their life to service work. And to me, it's like, if we just give them if we talk about the problems happening in the sector, we can make it all better for everybody. Because my goal is not, obviously, I sell this service for people to become consultants, but it's really, I see it as a Band-Aid thing. Like, what we're dealing with is a talent crisis in the sector. And it's like, if we don't have staff to fulfill the mission work, like, these organizations are going under.
Exactly.
So it's really about having the conversations so that donor, and there have been things like the overhead myth letter that went out a couple years, like, there have been, things, but I really believe, like, we're going to have to rebuild this thing together from the inside out. It's not going to be the funders that, obviously that's going to be an important part of the discussion, but it's like, we have to all rise together on the inside, the people actually doing the work, because I really don't think that funders really I was a funder. Like, I know the song and dance. I think we just have to be honest and real about what's going on in this sector that everybody loves. And it's nothing we can't fix, but it's really this broader systemic issue at the end of the day.
Exactly. Catalina, you have been exceptional, and I appreciate you. We appreciate you so much for sharing your heart, sharing your wisdom, continuing to show up, not just for nonprofits, but the consultants that support nonprofits, and how you're building communities as well that are continuing to thrive. Where can people find you online, and where can people find more information about the Relatable Nonprofit?
Yeah, our site's relatablononprofit.com. We're on Instagram, relatable_nonprofit. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably where I'm most active, just Catalina Parker. Send me a DM. I love to talk to people. I think that's it.
Anybody listening, one of the questions that we always ask at the end of our episodes is, what type of culture are you spreading? Catalina is spreading a culture of connectivity, of sustainability, of leadership, and of boundaries in your organization so that you could really build something impactful but intentional in the same time. This is another episode of the Contagious Culture Podcast, and we appreciate you. If you like this episode, if it resonated with you, we want you to like it, subscribe it, and share it with somebody in your world. And we'll see you all next episode.